our update, starting with the Chief Met. Mr. Gordon, can you please go ahead? I will also ask the media to please be reminded to reserve your questions until all presenters have given their updates as well. Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Pleasant good morning. I will jump straight into it and start sharing screen.
One sec, Mr. Gordon. We aren't live on our Facebook just yet.
Okay. Can you tell me when we're live?
Yes, sir. I'll message in the group.
But I can start sharing, right?
Sure, sir. I'll stop sharing so you can start.
Okay, Danielle, so I would have to give that introduction again.
Indeed, ma'am. Indeed.
Okay.
That's the reason I messaged you in WhatsApp. Wait, but unfortunately you hadn't heard me.
Danielle, we're live. We're live. Ooh. Our apologies for that. These things happen. So, Mr. Gordon, I will ask you to please go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Latina. So I'm sharing again the front page of the National Meteorological Service of Belize's website, and I will go straight into our alerts. We still have an alert out for Tropical Storm Sara. But first, let's update on the latest information as of 9 this morning. Tropical Storm Sara was located near 17.1 north, 88.4 west, and that puts it about 30 miles southwest of Belize City and about 15 miles northwest of Dangriga town, indicating that Sara came ashore on Dangriga just before 9 this morning. The system is moving to the west-northwest at 6 miles per hour, with maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour, and a tropical storm warning remains in effect for the entire coast of Belize because Sara is still designated as a tropical storm. In terms of our other alerts, we still have an excessive rainfall warning out. We expect another 1 to 3 inches of rainfall as Sara moves across Belize. Small craft warning because winds will continue gusty this morning as Sara moves away from or across the country. No? In terms of let me go back to the webpage and bring up our latest radar imagery. So what you're seeing on screen, and I'll bring up the latest 250-kilometer loop, you can see the broad circulation associated with Sara somewhere in this location over the country of Belize. This is when it came ashore over Dangriga earlier this morning. So the system is now on land. And before I go any further, just let me give you a brief update on what a forecast for the next 4 days. So like I had said yesterday, as Sara moves away and dissipates, we expect a return to fair conditions by tomorrow, and that will persist through the holiday on Tuesday. Thereafter, an approaching cold front will support some showers on Wednesday, and that front will cross us late on Thursday. And after it crosses, we return to fair weather once more. The satellite imagery of Sara shows some deep convective activity over the Maya Mountains as the system moves further west across the country of Belize. And in terms of rainfall, as we had indicated, the major threat from this tropical storm was going to be excessive rainfall. For some reason, okay, this is not moving as I would like to, but I will not. Okay, so what you're seeing on screen here, of course, is our rainfall accumulation from about midday on Thursday, and that's when the storm began impacting us with outer bands. So the accumulation we're showing here is about 6 to 12 inches in terms of the maximum. Some areas are lower. I just want to highlight, for example, the airport. We received about that is about 9 inches of rainfall. Sorry. San Pedro is 12 inches, and again, the maximum was recorded at Middle Key, as I showed yesterday, where we recorded in excess or almost 18 inches of rainfall with the system. So in terms of the general range of the forecast that we predicted, which was about 5 to 10 inches with higher amounts, that was pretty much what occurred. In terms of the winds, as I had indicated all along in my briefing, Tropical Storm Sara was going to be a rainfall event and the winds would be minimal. And that is exactly what we got. This system came ashore with relatively minimal winds. We have some gusts. Highest gust as of this morning that I saw was at our station at Calabash Key, which recorded 41.1 knots, and the conversion to that is about 47 miles per hour. That occurred at about 7:20 this morning, just before the system came ashore, just near Dangriga town. And again, I'm just going to present here, and let me minimize this. This is precisely at the point where the station at Calabash Key recorded the highest wind gusts at 7:20 this morning. But in terms of average, we're looking at about 35 miles per hour average winds. I have not seen any station up to now across the country that recorded sustained tropical storm force winds, but rather those were mostly in gusts based on our observations from this system. In terms of the rainfall prediction, as I mentioned, we expect another 1 to 3 inches of rainfall for the next 12 hours or so as the system moves across land, and then we expect conditions to improve thereafter. The tracking tool, again at 9 this morning, the system was just northwest of Dangriga, heading generally to the west-northwest and should be clearing the border by this evening. We likely will be dropping the tropical storm warning for the coast at 3 p.m. this evening. That's most likely the case, and we will keep you updated on that. I just want to close off by saying that in terms of the overall prediction with this system, we were saying that we'd get a low end, although some persons complain about that word, minimal tropical storm with a potential extreme scenario or worst case scenario of a category 1. The system did not have enough time it didn't stay over water long enough for that to happen. And so the most likely forecast came true, which was for it to be a minimal tropical storm. We did see that the major threat would be excessive rainfall, which has occurred. And of course, our principal hydrologist will be updating on the potential flooding from those rains. In terms of a weather perspective, we basically are out of the emergency or are moving out of the emergency by this evening. But we know that the water on the ground has to go somewhere. So I will hand over now to the moderator, so that the other presenters can present, and I will stay pending for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. I will ask Ms. Tenniel to please go ahead and share her updates with us.
Sorry, good morning, Belize, good morning. I will just share my screen to share with you the updates on flooding. It doesn't differ much from what was previously shared with the public. We're seeing the flood warning remaining in effect for the usual areas, the Rio Hondo, the Mopan, Sibun River, Mopan, Makal, Belize River, but we have added now the severe for Sibun and City River, Bladen, and Swayze. Severe flood warning remains in effect for the Belize River watershed. Before we just said for the Makal River and its tributaries, but now that is being extended to the entire watershed, and our landslide warning remains in effect. What we are seeing with San Ignacio is that the levels are approaching historical Mitch levels and near to Eta Iota levels that were previously recorded in 2020. The dams continue to spill, and these remain above the spillway. And as Chief Met indicated, we are still expecting some more rainfall across the country, but specifically in that area. Moving on to our stream flow forecasting, we can see that most of the rivers previously indicated are experiencing 2 to 10-year return periods, and this is the forecast at 9 a.m. today. The forecast at 6 p.m., we are seeing some of those same systems approaching 20-year return periods, which is conducive with what we are seeing right now. For our soil moisture, the soil moisture across the country, majority of the country is heavily saturated. And we see that our landslide product to your left here is very active. It has a positive landslide threat for the areas emanating off the Maya Mountains. For flooding conditions, these were some pictures shared with us. The Gales Point Manatee Lagoon is at flood stage, and we're seeing some rivers in the south. This one particular is Blue Creek in the southern district experiencing flooding. For the Cayo district, of keynote is that we're seeing our hydrological station here, which records a maximum of 10 meters, is well on its way to possibly being exceeded with this event. We're also seeing the effects of that flooding already downstream in Belmopan City with this image captured at the Roaring Creek Bridge. For our alerts and warnings, rivers in the south again remain vigilant, continue monitoring these systems. They are prone to flash flooding. The Coastal Plains Highway.
I apologize. Are you trying to share your screen? Because we are not seeing it and we'd like to.
I thought my screen was shared. My apologies. I went through the entire thing without sharing my screen.
Yes.
I thought it was being shared. Apologies. So are you seeing it now?
Yes, we are seeing it now. I don't mind if you start again from the top so that...
My deepest apologies. I thought I was sharing it.
I apologize for not paying your attention.
Right, so this is the overview of the flood forecast. We're seeing that in most of the areas, we're seeing linear relationships in terms of the flooding events, namely San Ignacio, Benque, Freetown, Sibun. The dams are still spilling, still increasing. And we have the Gales Point Lagoon here that has been flooded. For the stream flow forecasting at 9 a.m. this morning, we're seeing that most of the streams, as previously indicated, are showing flood return periods of 2 to 10 years, some even 20-year return period. Going into the forecast this evening, we see some of those going into 20-year return periods, which is not a departure from what was initially forecasted. Most of the country is under heavy saturation, and the landslide threat index is positive for the Maya Mountains and the eastern slopes of that area. For flooding conditions, we're seeing that the Gales Point, Manatee Lagoon in the central area, as well as Blue Creek in the south, are experiencing flooding conditions. As well as for the Cayo district, we're seeing that it's under severe flooding, as we had initially been saying throughout the press briefings and through our forecasts. To the left of your screen here, this is our hydrological station. We're seeing that the historical height, maximum height we have recorded was 10 meters. That the levels are approaching at that 10-meter height. And these are just some images that were shared with us as to the present conditions. The Hawksworth Bridge, the water levels is now in the Welcome Center at San Ignacio. And for context, on the extreme portion of the screen, you can see the level of flooding that occurred. We're seeing this as well downstream at the Roaring Creek Bridge in Belmopan City. To wrap up, the rivers in the south, we will leave the warnings there for them. We still expect some rainfall. They are prone to flash flooding. Some of them are increasing in levels. The coastal plain highways, again, that remains in effect for potential flash flooding to occur. In the north, previously we reported that the levels were going down. Now we are seeing that those levels are returning to an increasing stage. And of extreme importance with the severe flooding in the Belize River watershed, the downstream communities in this watershed need to remain vigilant as they can expect severe flooding conditions in the coming days. And that's my forecast for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. We go right into Mr. Mendez.
My computer is freezing.
I would also like to ask the public to be a little lenient, if I may, with us. We are trying to bring across updated and relevant information to you the best that we can. But these things happen. We're having some technical difficulties, but we're really trying to sort this out and have the information for you. If we can give Mr. Mendez a little time to pull up his presentation, please. We will go ahead and ask the media to ask any questions that you may have to the Chief Met only at this time, while Mr. Mendez sorts out his connectivity issues. Jules, please go ahead.
Hello, good morning, the Chief Met and the Chief Hydrologist, right? Yeah, okay, so good morning. So a few things. The storm, this is Chief Met, the storm hasn't been quite as strong as expected at landfall. You had been saying 50, maybe above, and we're all grateful it is lower. But are there events that accounted for it to not be as strong as might have been predicted? Nicole, you want to switch back to Mendez since he's up now, or? You tell me what you wish me to do.
Jules, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, Chief Met, are you able to say what events made the storm um break up a little more than forecasted?
Yes, Jules, just wanted to say first that we gave ourselves a very wide latitude from a tropical depression to perhaps a category 1. So we were saying that if it stays over Honduras and it could weaken into even a depression. So it came within the range that was expected. So I will say that I wouldn't say that we didn't get it. However, in terms of why it didn't intensify further, certainly, as I said yesterday, having been sitting on the coast of Honduras disrupted the core of the system and also prevented it from, of course, intensifying by observing the very warm or taking advantage of the warm waters in the Gulf of Honduras. Also, the fact that it moved across a very small, shallow, narrow area of ocean or sea or whatever you want to call it before it got here certainly contributed, for it not to intensify. And of course, we are grateful, like you rightly said.
So if I could ask about the rainfall, I saw very high rainfall amongst being reported from Dangriga. In terms of speaking on the mainland, I know the islands received the most, but what was the total rainfall in Dangriga yesterday at the end of the day, only for the day?
I don't have that figure because I was bringing up the in total for the entire period. But certainly within the whole period, Dangriga got about 292.6 millimeters of rainfall, which converts roughly to about 12 inches of rainfall. And yes, most of that occurred yesterday and into this morning.
Okay, and then if I could ask the chief hydrologist, if you could just explain this, the 10-meter mark that you all have placed at the hydrological station there. When was it placed, and has it ever been this high or on the verge of being exceeded, as you showed us in that photo?
Thank you for the question, Jules. The 10-meter gauge that I showed during the presentation it starts at the riverbed. So our gauges start from 0 up until 10 meters. That 10-meter gauge has been extended before. As we have these extreme events, we go and we mark the most extreme level that the river has reached, and we do extend gauges as that occurs. So that 10-meter gauge, and if you do the calculation at 3.34 feet to 1 meter, you're talking about 33, 34 feet of water. So at that particular juncture, it was at 9.7, I believe. And so if we do the math, it's almost near to 30 feet of water that we're seeing in the San Ignacio area.
And how would that compare to historic Eta iota levels?
It's nearing those levels. I don't have that physical information in front of me, but we will be doing a report after this event to exactly make those analogies. But what I can tell you, it has exceeded what is known as the Mitch levels. And I think Mitch was a storm that was very illustrative for us. And so we're returning and exceeding those levels. But from memory, I can recall that these were the same levels more or less for Eta and Iota.
Okay, and then Chief Met indicated that there's a lot of rainfall over the Maya Mountains right now. How will that affect flooding going forward?
I'll answer there, Jules. The additional rainfall will undoubtedly increase the flow coming down the system. So we can see increasing levels occurring downstream for those systems. So the more rainfall we get, the higher the depth of the flood will be, because there's no more room for it to expand horizontally. So it goes now vertically.
Okay, so what would you say are the greatest risks to life and property, and in what part of the country?
As per the flood forecast, we're seeing that the flooding will undoubtedly affect most of the country, meaning the central region and the northern region. What we need to emphasize is that it will not be today. It will be for the coming days, and as Chief Met reported, we are expected to see some additional rainfall throughout the week. So I don't want the public to be or to miscommunicate that when this event is done by the end of next week, we will be through with this flooding issue that we're having. It will extend into this coming week and possibly the week after, just depending on the rainfall and how it occurs over our landmass.
Okay, thanks, Nicole.
Thank you too, Jules. Mr. Mendez is up and ready, so we will have him proceed with his presentation. Okay, we thought we were ready. It was showing on our end. It's somehow not showing again now. We sincerely apologize. We will proceed with the questions.
I can run that one. That's not bad.
One second, please. Mr. Mendez will brief you on our updates without showing his screen.
Hi, good morning. My apologies. Murphy's Law, your computer breaks down when you need it. So I will continue with my briefing. My presentation does not want to pull up, but I will share with you my updates. So what we have been doing throughout the night, all our emergency centers have been open across the country. Our district coordinators across the country remain on duty all night. I will continue to do so, and are responding to all reports of assistance coming in. The National Emergency Operations Center is open and continues to monitor and support any response as required. And as indicated by the Met Service and the Hydrology Service, we continue to prepare for high rainfall, and we have been responding to reports of flooding in parts of the country overnight, particularly in the Cayo district and in some parts of the Belize and Sand Creek district. We continue to stress that residents must remain vigilant and be prepared to implement their plans. We are today as a reminder, we are still in the red 2 phase. Landfall has been occurring as been indicated by Chief Meteorologist. We will continue to monitor and liaise with the Chief Meteorologist throughout the day. Flood alerts remain in place as per guidance, and shelters across the country have been open, and we have been receiving persons who are seeking safety. We have, like I said, been reporting to reports of flood conditions across the country, and we are working with our partners, the MIDH and Transport Department, to monitor the road conditions, and they continue to provide us advice. Okay, a moment.
They just showed us this that screen.
Okay. So we continue Just one more time.
I think we're
Yeah.
apologizing.
I can answer any questions.
Okay, we will proceed with our Q&A now.
Don't answer any questions.
Does anyone have a question? Channel 7, Jules, please go ahead.
I know you're tired, I'm in a call. So yeah,
Not at all, Jules, not at all.
I just wanted to ask the Nemo coordinator, what's the clear direction at this time on work, being that an all clear will likely be issued by 3 p.m. and we know that it only, it was a low grade storm. So what is there any clear directive on work, and should businesses be forcibly closed, as I'm told is happening in some parts of the country by law enforcement? What is the situation with business, restaurants, etc., remaining open, and also employees being called to work? Not hearing you, Mendez.
So those advisories came out last night based on information that was available at that time. We obviously have received new information, and we will be reviewing those. Those will be included in the next advisory. So we will be providing some more clearer guidance to those particular concerns that you have just raised.
Okay, but so as it stands right now, based on the directive last night, places of business should not be open.
As of the last advisory, like I said, we are reviewing with new information, and we will be providing guidance very soon on that. So please look out for that.
I know that your time in this office, I don't think it includes when this directive came down in 2022, but at some point, very insidiously, call centers were added to essential services. And for those of us on the outside, it's incomprehensible. But please explain to me, if you know, how is it that call centers are now included in essential services?
What I will say is that we are reviewing those lists. We are trying to provide more and clearer guidance. At this point, that is the list that exists, but we know that there need to be some attention paid to it. So at this point, I cannot comment on that until I confer. That is a decision that is made by cabinet, not a decision made for us at Nemo. And so we will be working with them to be able to provide better guidance on that.
Okay, but in your opinion, technically, do you think that call center people should be required to work at a time when a storm is upon us or about to make landfall, etc.? Just theoretically, conceptually, hypothetically.
No, I can't provide a professional opinion on that. I don't want. I can't. That's a cabinet decision that needs to be made, and that's one that we will be asked for advice on, and I will speak to that at the appropriate time.
Okay. Ms. Vega, I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Jules. Can we ask Ms. Maria to please go ahead?
Yes, thank you. My question is regarding the extended time frame for the downstream flooding. Could you give some opinion, and I guess this would be for hydrology, on what Belize City can expect, and also the Philip Goulson International Airport? Because you said like it should be a problem next week and into the next week also. So what are we looking for Belize City and TGIA? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Maria. In terms of the lag time for floodwaters traveling down the Belize River system, it's on average 3 days. As it relates to the PGIA, and the flooding, with Eta and Iota, the airport wasn't flooded with that. It did receive some localized flooding with the heavy rainfall during that period, but it wasn't where the river extended over the highway, not the highway, no, across the runway for the landing of the aircrafts. So that's as much context as I can give you at the moment. We don't expect the river levels to reach on the runway as with previous extreme events with Eta and Iota as late as 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Maria. Are you finished with your questions?
Well, I had asked about Belize City too.
Keep it muted, Denise.
Oh, my apologies. Belize City, again, within the 3 to 4 day period, we have a lot of complexities with the Belize City area because we have both of the rivers being flooded. That Belize City 8 miles western mile, 8 mile community serves as a drainage point. When one river system overflows, the other one basically absorbs and discharges the waters. But now we have 2 of them being flooded more or less at the same time. So what we can expect coming down into the Belize City area is that the 8 mile community may see some flooding into Belize City. The normal areas that that experience flooding would expect to receive those floodwaters. In terms of the depth, as I know is the question most persons would like to know, we are unable to say that at this time because there are other areas that this water drains out to. We have the Crooked Tree Lagoon that serves as a retention point, and it's hydraulically connected via some wetlands to the New River system. So all of these systems sort of help each other out when drainage of floodwaters, but the normal areas should expect flooding in the next coming 3 to 4 days.
Thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Aaron, please go ahead, followed by Ms. Benita.
Okay, thanks. Good morning, Aaron News, Breaking Belize News. Ms. Hendy, in terms of I think you went into some detail as to the level of flooding being experienced in San Ignacio and along the Macal, Mupan, Belize River. In terms of what you mentioned about 2-year return, 10-year return, 20-year return, a bit technical. Can you expound a little bit on that in terms of what that area is experiencing? And you mentioned, of course, that the forecast for Belize City and communities along the Belize River in the coming days.
Thank you for your question, Aaron. The 2-year, 10-year, 20-year return period is just exactly that, the return period that you expect the flood event of a certain magnitude to return. That's as simple as I can put it without getting too technical to explain. In the Cayo area, recalling from the imagery that I shared, it showed the Macal area or the watershed experiencing a 20-year return period. Of course, these need to be validated with on the ground. The event has not completely finished as yet. Flooding happens after the event has passed. And so for currently with that forecast, it's reflecting a 20-year return period event. So I just want to make sure I've made that part of the question clear.
You have, thanks.
Okay, in terms of the flooding to be expected, the normal communities that would be flooding should expect to be flooded with additional. As I said earlier, flooding with water, it takes the least part of resistance. So it will flood the lower elevations first. And when that has been filled, if we want to say, it will then go higher. So it moves away from horizontal spreading and it rises vertically. So we get a higher flood depth when the extent has been exceeded.
Okay, that explains it very well. Thanks very much. And then to Chief Met, in terms of I saw, I guess, elsewhere on American media, the cool front that I think you said we should be expecting around Wednesday, Thursday. It's possible that the remnants of Sara, sorry, if it hasn't completely dissipated by then, would be dragged into will that contribute to the showers that you said are expected along with the cold front?
Yes, Aaron, the remnants of Sara will be absorbed by that frontal boundary and will indeed produce extra moisture for there to be some rains with that front. However, we don't expect excessive rainfall with that front.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you, Ms. Benita. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I'm just asking this question in case I missed it earlier. Are you guys able to comment on the conditions right now of the Chaleo and the dams right now, the spills?
I will take that question, Ms. Nicole. Based on the reporting received from Fortis facilities, all 3 dams continue to spill. So there is water coming above the spillways for the three dam facilities in Cayo.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have someone named Reporter 1. Can you please go ahead?
Hi, good morning. Benjamin Flowers from Love News. I believe this question is for Mr. Gordon. Sir, would you be able to tell us how the net effect phenomenon is going to affect Belize?
Can you repeat? I didn't get the name of the phenomenon that you're referring to.
Net effect.
I'm not familiar with it. Sorry.
It's a phenomenon that occurs when humidity currents from the intertropical convergence zones enter the Atlantic and then pass over into the Pacific Ocean.
I will have to get back to you on that one, Benjamin. Do you have another question?
Yeah, I believe it's one from Mr. Mendes.
Okay.
Sir, based on the information that Nemo has been getting, what has compliance been like in terms of the advisories that you guys have been putting out?
Thank you for your question. So for the most part, people have been listening to the advisories. We were concerned last night when we were trying to reach out to some persons who we know were in some dangerous situations, and so we were out asking persons to voluntarily relocate to a safer location. But I think for the most part, the people of Belize have been listening to the advisories. They have been listening to the information coming out from the hydrology department, the Met department, and from Nemo, and we are very thankful for that. So as of this morning, we haven't had any major incident to report to. We had conducted some search and rescue operations through the night as we had all our teams on standby. But generally, there was compliance with our directives.
Sir, apart from the mudslides on the Hummingbird, did you guys have any other major issues that you had to respond to in terms of like maybe infrastructure damage or anything like that?
So far, we have not received any reports of that. We will be sending out teams once the all clear is given, as is normal. But we knew that there were some roads that were being reported that were being affected by low-level flooding. Those were put on the advisories as soon as we received them. But generally, we haven't received any reports of any major damage so far.
Thank you.
Jules?
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Mendes. I just wanted some clarity. I did just see the directive that was issued. I don't think it was sent in a normal communication. Someone sent it to me, but it says that what should be closed are restaurants. Well, you know the directive far better than I do, but allow me to pull it up here. So it says that all bars, casinos, and restaurants across the country to be closed by 10 p.m. on Monday, November 16th. But it doesn't include stores. So are police acting erroneously if they are closing stores, as we have heard them doing in Orange Walk?
No, they're not. But as I indicated, with the new information that came in, we are reviewing those and we will be sending out guidance. Note that when those advisories come out, they are based on the information that is available at that time, and we're making decisions in the interest of public safety. But again, these are being reviewed, and we will be sending out more information very soon, which will provide more clarity to persons across the country.
Okay, and then if I could just ask Ms. Hendy one more. Ms. Hendy, I understand that everything is in motion right now in terms of the waterways, but the situation in San Ignacio, how much? I guess it's hard to determine, but how much worse do you expect it to get? We see that BTB building there. We saw it flooded yesterday, and now today only the roof can be seen. What should they expect in San Ignacio in terms of specifically rising river levels?
Thank you for the question, Jules. I can say at this moment that it would be exacerbated. How much? That is a bit complex, as you said, to determine at this point. We are continuing to monitor the river levels, and we have our own internal communication as well between our observers so that we can update the flood forecast as necessary. And we have a very fluid communication with Chief Met and Nemo to advise as we see the situation becoming a little bit more dire. But what they can expect is to continue to see increasing flood waters. How high it will get, unfortunately, at this point, I am not able to say that.
Okay, and please forgive me. I pray your indulgence, Mr. Mendes, because people are texting me, right? It's the public that wants to know. What would you say to police who are actively closing stores right now, as they are in the city as well? I've just been told. What would be, because you said new directives will be coming out, what would you say to police who they believe in a lawful execution of their duties in public safety doing this? What should they do? What should the public expect? Thank you.
Well, we will be providing guidance to the police as soon as we finish this press conference. Once that is done, then I will be speaking to them directly. We will revise the guidance, and we will be putting out that advisory.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Maria. We will take this one last question from you before we end this session.
Thank you for Chief Met. With the rest of the hurricane season still ahead, did the Sara event cool the sea any at all? Or what to expect?
Yeah, thanks. I don't have specific numbers, but we do know that whenever a tropical cyclone moves over the waters, it tends to stir it up, and that would cool it down. But to what level? We will have to check the data after the system has officially passed. Since I have the opportunity, I just want to I think we mentioned it at the beginning, but the National Emergency Coordinator and myself have briefed the Prime Minister on the situation. He's aware that the system has made landfall and that there will be minimal impact to the country in terms of winds, no, as we have seen. The impacts have been intense rainfall, and that is also going to be decreasing. But as we saw through the discussion, the rainfall will lead to flooding, or the ones that are the water that is already on the ground will lead to flooding. So that's an emergency that will continue. Also, I want to inform you that, or also to make a plea once again, as we always do, that the media houses and the general public to please share official information. We know that there's a lot of misinformation going around at times during these emergencies. This is a serious situation because it can create panic unnecessarily, and it can also misinform people who need actually to take action. So our plea is always to share official information. We are here to provide that information to you. I believe that we have made progress in terms of our accessibility to the media. These press conferences were unheard of previously, but we make all effort to ensure that we get across to everybody in a fair and transparent manner, no? Because information is important. So I want to make that plea, no? That let us be responsible, let us share information that will be helpful. Warnings and watches for the country of Belize can only be given by an official source, an official authority, and that would be Nemo, along with the other partners, which are Met Service and Hydrology and so forth. Last, in terms of our sharing of information, there has never been a time in history where we could provide you with rainfall data as a storm is making landfall. Back in the days, you'll have to wait 2 days to compile that information, but we have moved well beyond that, and I'm sharing information in live, in real time with you all. We look at the wind direction, wind speed in real time and sharing information. So there's enough information there. And of course, we remind the public that we have our official website that you can visit. Nemo has theirs as well. We have our social media page and so on. So again, there is no need for misinformation. So I leave it at that, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Met. I will ask Mr. Mendes or Ms.
should expect to go to school tomorrow.
Okay, that is an important question, so I will allow that, Jules.
Thank you.
Sorry, was a question asked for?
I apologize. It was just one I was trying to squeeze in for Chief, not Chief Met, apologies, Director Nemo, about classes tomorrow. I understand the all clear will be declared, and we should all expect to go to classes, but just for the avoidance of doubt and laziness, schools will be in session tomorrow as normal as they should be. I'm just asking for clear indication on that.
Yes, very, very likely. Like I said, we will be putting out the latest advisory in a few minutes with that information, so as to avoid any confusion in the public.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I will ask Mr. Mendes or Ms. Tennille if they have any final remarks.
So thank you. I just want to stress what the Chief Met had been asking, really to help us in disseminating accurate information. Again, we are doing our best with the information that is available at that time. Disaster management is not a perfect science, and it's one that's based on information that's coming in. Here at the NEOC, we have information coming in from across the entire country, and there's a lot that needs to be considered. And so we know that people want answers. We do our best with the information available to make that determination and to provide the best advice possible. We continue to work in partnership with our partner agencies, the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, Hydrology, and so on, to ensure that we provide accurate information to the public, and we ask that this information is also shared by the media in that format. So I just wanted to end with that statement.
I just, in case I made a mistake, I see that the Ministry of Education, and Nicole, you have this notice as well, or I sent it to you. I don't know if you want to read it, that nationwide suspension of classes at all levels for tomorrow, Monday, November 18th. Do you have that, Nicole? Yeah, I received it from the Minister of Education, so I know it is accurate.
Hi, thank you, Jules.
Yeah.
We'll be reviewing and sharing that information in our next advisory immediately after this briefing. But thank you for sharing. Okay, with that, Mr. Neal, do you have any final comments?
Not at this time, Ms. Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you as well. I just want to reiterate what the Chief Met said, that the Prime Minister of Belize has been fully informed and engaged with us. He's been guiding the decision making. And so I urge all of you to please look out for our latest advisory coming up shortly and to keep following our updates. With that, I'll say thank you for joining us. Thank you for bearing patience with us while we figure out all the technical difficulties. We do understand these things happen, but we're trying to bring across all information to you for your safety, for all our safety. So with that, I say remain safe and look out for our latest updates. Thank you, Belize.